Something lies in this park, and this park lies a secret no one knows about. Even teachers nor history books tell you about. But sometimes our curiosity gets to us, and see the hidden and mysterious that was once significant for a purpose or something else. In fact, many structures like this are found in Singapore with their own stories like this one. Unfortunately, such places like this become forgotten and lost to time. Till now, however, how much do we know about such places like this? This is the story of Fort Pasir Panjang. Well, it's the time of the year. Summer holidays has just started, and I really do promise to make as much videos as possible. However, I'm the only person making these videos, so it's really appreciative of you to like and subscribe as it makes me feel happy. Basically, this fort is one of many throughout Singapore to protect the country from neighboring enemies, but also a show off that Britain's tea empire is extremely great. This fort I chose specifically for this video deserves the Special Kid Award because the fort protects Singapore's very special place, which is Keppel Harbour, and the trade route that allows goods and services to enter into Singapore, and for other various reasons. Not just that, but as for additional defenses, they added mines at sea in between Sentosa and Labrador so that enemy ships, if wandered too closely, would detonate. Now for the fort's very interesting layout, which includes a storeroom, and that storeroom will contain such objects like gun shells, as you can see by the pictures. Others include a lining room. Given the inflammable nature of the store, no naked flames were allowed in any rooms, with the exception of this room. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any specific images for this video, so my assumption is it can be a smoke room or a place to put flammable objects like lighters, but that's just an assumption for now. Cartridge room for the storage of cartridges. Filled shell store for the storage of shells filled with gunpowder. Now you might be wondering, how will you transport such humongous shells at a distance? Now this is where I would talk about the hoist recesses and the miter recesses, not the usual words you will hear, but you will know as I speak. The hoist recesses are connected to the underground artillery stores or gun shells, which those stores contain both gun shells and cartridges, and when in service those shells would be hoisted, and the soldiers on the gun emplacement above will be able to get what they needed. But sir, how to shoot fast one must wait for next batch leh. Well, there is one more thing to mention. The minor recesses. Just below the parapet, these minor recesses are functional for storage to store shells and cartridges in case shit goes haywire. Cartridge lift area where the hoist raising the cartridges to the emplacement above ground was found. Shell lift area where the hoist raising the filled shells to the emplacement above ground was found. The next one on the list is the fire control system. Like modern technology, most of our daily lives are tech-based applications. Back in the days, most of our grandpas and grandmas had to manually do such tasks and hope for better if there is a decision between better or worse. What was the function of the fire control system? Usually a person called the sergeant, simply a rank of a non-commissioned officer in the army or air force, above corporal and below staff sergeant. However, back then things were different. Looking at the list, we will see that actually the sergeant is above the staff sergeant and below corporal, quite different from today's standards. The sergeant will have to stand here and see the trajectory of the shell shot from the cannon. If results are disappointing, then the sergeant has to make such adjustments to the cannon. That is until Captain Watkins developed the DRF, or Depression Rangefinder, where you apply trigonometry and it calculates the trajectory of shots without having to adjust. And if you know trigonometry, then you could take this position if you're in World War II. Now the most important part of the fort, but not so well known for, is the casemate, the quiet kid at the back of the classroom, where its story is yet to be heard from. The casemate, surprisingly, is important because it stores shells and cartridges, and surprisingly, as a shelter for the soldiers during war periods. The casemate is connected to four rooms, being the ammunition room, cartridge and shell storage units, and the entrance to the underground rooms themselves, which are the cartridge and shell, and pretty much you will know the rest of it. Here's some extra photos just for a better insight of what the casemate has inside. Wait, before we head to the last segment, there are two interesting facts you must know about. Many of our Singaporean viewers would have heard about Lim Bo Seng, a very famous war hero who is very famous for his anti-Japanese activism. And to my foreign viewers, Lim Bo Seng worked for Force 136, or an intelligence organization, which is a branch from the British World War II intelligence organization, specifically for Southeast Asia, and it specializes in commando-style military exercises for espionage and sabotage at Japanese intel and disrupting their forces in Burma, Thailand, China, multiple cities in Malaysia, and Singapore. Unfortunately, Lim Bo Seng would be captured by the Kempeitai under Major Onishi Satoru at Goping Perak around March or April 1944, where his remains would be at Macritchie Reservoir with rank of Xiaojiang or lower commander. Shockingly, he also owned a brick and biscuit company, but sadly I do not know much about his accounts with the two companies. However, what I do know is he was responsible for using the brick company specifically for war effort by manufacturing a lot of bricks for the casemate, Alexandria Hospital, the Changi Barracks, and many more. But mainly the two companies were used for war effort because these two companies may not last very long, unfortunately. Speaking of guns, we will be talking about the history of the forts, guns, and the history itself. Before the guns and even the fort's existence, you had this piece of rock which is called the
龙的牙齿
or dragon's teeth, used as a navigation landmark during those days. Unfortunately, it would be blown up by the British to give way to larger ships, because the British always like to freak up stuff, so why not? For the new harbour to be later renamed to Keppel Harbour as you know today. Okay, so who is this special person that gave this new harbour a new name? Well, during that period, Admiral Sir Henry Keppel, the name given to the harbour, would carry out anti-piracy campaigns in 1842 with success. And to my foreign viewers and maybe SG viewers who do not know who he is, this is the second time so bear as there is one more character to mention. Because I don't know who he is, he has another name, and that name is called Admiral of the Fleet, the Honourable Sir Henry Keppel. Is a Royal Navy officer. His first was spent in Spain during the First Carlist War. He's also a commanding officer of the corvette HMS Dido, and no, I don't mean dildo, I mean Dido, you dirty-minded freak. Anyways, he would be stationed on both the East Indies and China station during the First Opium Wars and against Borneo pirates. Okay, at least the British weren't that much of a bastard, really. He later served as commander of the Naval Brigade besieging Sebastopol during the Crimean War. After becoming second in command of the East Indies and China station. he commanded the British squadron in action with Chinese pirates at the Battle of Fat Shan Creek, when he got 100 enemy war junks into the bin and captured Canton during round 2 of Opium Wars. Keppel will also become Commander-in-Chief of Cape of Good Hope and West Coast of Africa Station, then in Southeast Coast of America Station, and last but not least, Plymouth, UK. I'm gonna ramp this up a little faster, so here are the other ships Keppel rode on as well. Anyways, continuing on with the story, the defense reviews decided that the forts be built on either side of the entrance to the new harbor. Fort Pasir Panjang built on Labrador, which is a great choice because I'm paying extra to go inside Sentosa. And on the other side of Fort Pasir Panjang is Fort Siloso, located on the island of Sentosa. These two major forts will protect the channel which separates Singapore and Sentosa, but also protects the new harbor, which is very essential. Fort Pasir Panjang will have its first guns in 1878 by the 7th Coast Artillery Regiment, which received orders from Faber Fire Command led by Brigadier A.D. Curtis, and that being a 7-inch RML or rifle muzzle loading gun. And so 2 of those will be installed, but for temporary usage. But knowing they're old as most of my viewers, I'm just joking, they were removed soon after. Like the 9.2-inch RBL or rifle breech loading guns, but were still with their parents before they moved out. Now even better, the 9.2-inch RBLs are having children, being the 6-inch quick firing guns or QF for short, as a way to replace their parents' tradition. Now the reason why the 7-inch RBL guns were replaced is because when comparing the two guns' strength likewise, there is a huge difference. Now the 7-inch RBL has a fire rate of 2 to 3 rounds per minute with a muzzle velocity of 1500 feet per second to my foreign viewers. And to the rest of the world that uses the Imperial system like any normal person would, no offense by the way, is 460 meters per second, and its maximum range is 3,500 yards. But the 6-inch quick firing gun does a lot better than the 7-inch RBL. Now here's why. Its firing rate is a significant 25 to 30 rounds per minute, with a muzzle velocity of 2,150 feet per second or 655 meters per second, with a maximum range of 15,700 yards or 14,400 meters on a central pivot, that is. Now for the moment we are waiting for, the main character of the entire story of Fort Pasir Panjang. By 13 February 1942, the Japanese had reached Pasir Panjang Ridge, or what we know as Kent Ridge Park, after destroying the Allied artillery force on Tui Chian Hill, where Paul Ern Shi Temple still stands today. This location the Japanese wanted was near the Alexandria area, where the main ammunition stores and the military hospital, which is Alexandria Hospital, which also nursed wounded soldiers during the war period, played a major role in it. This is where we get to the exciting part of the segment, because the men of the 1st Battalion will reach to that area, part of the Charlie Company, the Malay Regiment, all commanded by our very famous war hero, Lieutenant Adnan bin Saidi. Once again, to my foreign viewers who do not know who he is, I will briefly explain as fast as possible. Adnan enlisted in the Malay Regiment in 1933 and was selected as the regiment's best recruit for his outstanding performance. He was promoted to sergeant in 1936. The next year, he marched in a contingent representing the Federated Malay States at the coronation parade of George VI and earned a coronation medal. Many years later, in 1941, he would attend an office conversion course, living with his family at Pasir Panjang. After his training, he will be promoted to lieutenant and as company officer in C Company or Charlie Company of the 1st Battalion Malay Regiment. In December 1941, he would send his family to his hometown Kajang, Selangor for their safety. In February 1942, Lieutenant Annan led his 42-man platoon of the 1st Malay Infantry Brigade to defend Singapore from attacks by the 56th Infantry Regiment of the Imperial Japanese Army. They fought at Pasir Panjang Ridge around Bukit Chandu between 12 and 14 February. Now the important part comes, which is what happened to the battalion. Well, it's a long story, but I'll make it as quick as possible. The 18th Division, also part of the 56th Infantry Regiment, would target the southern part of Singapore, being Pasir Panjang, and their main plan is to take control of the harbours and its strategical location of the Malacca Strait. And unlimited nasi lemak. Jokes aside, the 18th Division will attack the southwestern coast along Pasir Panjang Ridge, and bordering them is the Ayer Rajah Road, or what we call as Ayer Rajah Expressway. It was used as a line for the B Company to defend, while both C and A companies, part of the 1st Battalion, would defend the left flank of Reformatory Road, and the 2nd Royal Regiment, a British formation, would guard the 2nd Battalion's right flank. As just below them is multiple key points to defend, and very important, being the Alexandra Hospital, which I've mentioned before, Keppel Harbour, the forts, and lastly the British ammunition depots. As you see, the British ammunition depots are very important because they store ammunition, and those ammunition is used for guns, which the C Company and B Company and also the A Company, 1st Malay Regiment and the 2nd Malay Regiment would need. Communications and heavy bombardment by the Japanese 18th Regiment on A Company would be decimated and retreated from their positions. Either ways, the Japanese advanced to Pasir Panjang Ridge to counter B Company and engaged in combat by being blasted from artillery and shelling from Japanese mortar people. Later on the 12th, they are able to succeed in repelling enemy attacks. After dark, they are tasked to go to the gap, an opening in the middle of the ridge, giving access to Alexandria Hospital. However, the tides turned as Japanese aerial and artillery bombardment of the Malay Regiment's position. Not just that, but since they had ran out of ammunition, they had to retreat. This left C Company exposed to Japanese gunfire. 13th of February. The 1st Battalion will sadly have 4 officers killed on action and 8 wounded and numerous other casualties. The much depleted 2nd Battalion would become in reserve and move to Alexandra Brickworks, taking no further in battle. By night on the same day, the C Company, led by Lieutenant Adnan bin Saidi, who became 2nd Lieutenant, would take a new defensive approach at Opium Hill on Pasir Panjang Ridge. To its left, B Company was deployed to cover the approaches to Buona Vista Village, while D Company held Labrador area on the right flank of C Company. This would not go so well as both companies got separated by burning oil that flowed from the nearby Normanton oil depot, sabotaged by the Japanese again, who set ablaze on the 10th. During the attack on B Company, some Japanese soldiers tried to be sneaky by cosplaying as Punjab soldiers, but of course, Lieutenant Adnan bin Saidi and Lieutenant Abbas Abdul Manan could smell the wasabi flavor. It was down too strong, and because of that, they're gonna smoke some Japanese rice cakes tonight. Jokes aside, the problem is the Japanese march in columns of 4 instead of 3 from the British Army. And since the 2 lieutenants noticed this issue, it was time they pay the price. Adnan and Abbas and the entire Company C 7th platoon of 42 men would send a barrage of bullets, which led to the 22 Japanese both wounded and dead. Two hours after this failed, it was finally the last stand. The Japanese went full on with C Company, but C Company Commander Captain H.R. Riggs had other ideas. The smart and inspirational motivator led his troops to fight fearlessly and inspiring his troops, and with Adam doing hand-to-hand combat despite the blood, sweat, and tears. Regardless how big their wounds were, nothing would tear their spirit. Pushing forward, Lieutenant Stephen led a bayonet charge to drive off the attacking Japanese after many of his men were killed. However, shortly before this, Captain H.R. Riggs would succumb to his injuries. Meanwhile, as the Japanese run Opium Hill, Abbas and the remainder of his platoon attempted to fight their way out. With no choice, they have to leave the 20-foot gap, with burning of oil that really looks like hell just below them. Unfortunately, the two men never made it. But Abbas was lucky enough to leap over the 20-foot gap and was one of the 3 survivors to survive the Bukit Chandu War. The day felt silent. It was eerie but yet so calm, as the smoke, dread and pain settled down. However, for Annan, this would be the last of him. He was taken by the Japanese, placed him inside a gunny sack and tortured him. He would be hanged on a tree on that day. Fort Labrador remained silent after those years, rotting away bit by bit. It will be opened as a park in 2002 by nparks for preservation of flora, fauna, and its historical heritage. Well, it's been a very long time ever since I've last seen you guys. For these past 2 months, I was really working hard on this documentary, just to be honest with you. But I was actually wanting to clear the deadline by at least the end of June because I wanted to finish just the Fort Labrador part But as the more I researched throughout Wikipedia, right, it was becoming more and more clear that it was becoming a little more complex, and then other things started to add on. I can't just add in just Fort Labrador. I also wanted to add in other people who actually contributed to Fort Labrador and many others as well. And while I'm trying to explain my 2 months of explanation of my life, right, I'm just going to showcase a bunch of other heroes, right, war heroes who have really played their part in World War II, and especially their part in Singapore as well. Well, it's been quite a long time ever since I seen you guys, but the best thing I've ever feel a sense of accomplishment, right, is at least having you guys, right, appreciate my documentary. I'm not sure if this documentary is even going to become something else. I mean, this is 20 plus minutes, by the way, with at least maybe 2 minutes of me just speaking a bunch of nuisance for you guys. But either ways, it is quite a really I don't know, man. These 2 months have been so strenuous for me. It's been strenuous. But all I can say is that yeah, I wish I could do more better. For those 2 months I was trying to train on my editing skills and whatsoever. Then I sorry for my bad English but I also thought of adding others inside okay, let's put effects, okay, let's put stickers, let's put other sorts of effects and sound editing or whatsoever. I was also thinking, okay, why not I just add my own text as well. It's so hard. It's so hard to just even add text. It's just so hard. But just to be clear, I just wanted to do my best. I'm not an expert level at editing. Not like a history channel type of editing. Not the best editor of the world. But honestly, all I can say is that this is a huge accomplishment for me. I mean, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, that is huge. But of course, it's also a bit of an error for me, because I was actually expecting it to finish by within, let's say, 5 to 7 minutes, but I was expecting it to be twice or 3 times longer than what I was thinking or initiated to plan. But Either way, it's like if you guys enjoy my documentaries, you could inform me to tell me, oh, what other documentaries do you plan to make? Or can you make me do this, or can you make me do that? I don't know. I just want to challenge myself a bit, lah. But of course, lah, I feel like this challenge is just a bit too much, lah. It's just a bit too much, lah. Really, it's just a bit too much. But hopefully, you guys enjoy my documentary, and this was such a fun ride for me. Like, damn, 20 plus minutes. That's a huge amount. That is like documentary length video, lah, for me. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the video, and happy National Day. It was a bit late. I'm sorry for the late reply, but Happy National Day to you guys. Goodbye.